I'm sure you've had plenty of highlights over your career, but if you had to pick out a couple of those, what would have been your fondest memories?
I think the year, of the miracle match, I always go back to that. I think that was a really it was a really exciting year. We ended up with a very, very difficult group with Gloucester and Perpignan, and Perpignan gave us a good beating, and we were staring down the barrel of our first ever time not to qualify for Europe, and all we wanted to do was go out and beat Gloucester in the last game and salvage some bit of pride. And there was all sorts of permutations and calculations going on earlier in the week that we had to win by 33 points exactly and 4 tries, and to actually go out and the atmosphere that was out there, go out and the performance we put out that day, and to actually do it by exactly that was a very strange and eerie feeling. Even looking back at it now, it was just that there was somebody somewhere sort of helping us out, and that I suppose turned our season then, of course, and we went on over then to play Leicester in Leicester, Welford Road, in the quarter-final, and to turn them over then in their back garden after, especially after losing the final. And that was one of the all-time great teams, I suppose, with the Martin Johnsons and the Neil Backs and the Martin Corries and Austin Healy's and all those legends, so to go over there and do that. And unfortunately we didn't win that year. We went and lost the semi-final to Trevor Brennan's Toulouse by a single point, but again, that was a great occasion, and it was just that kind of that spell of 2 months or whatever it was that all those games were played was a really exciting time.
From your international point of view, you were capped 29 times for Ireland rather, but you came up against some tough opposition for the Hookers jersey, players like Jerry Flannery, who's your Munster colleague, and Keith Wood as well.
Yeah, I think it was in the last few years it's been a particularly competitive position. A lot of very good hookers out there, and I think outside of it I suppose made me a better player at times, even though I was behind them at times. It forces you to dig deeper and try and make yourself a better player. And I think last year I probably, outside of getting one last injury, I think I was playing the best rugby I ever played last year. And I suppose it was a credit. Jerry Flannery was picked for the Lions, and he was going to be first choice in the Lions. So I suppose it helps to be behind a guy who's at that level. You know what I mean? But it is disappointing, and you'd never settle for second best, but it does get tougher as you are behind somebody like that, and you're not getting the game time you want. But that's the nature of it. I've been on both sides of it, and that's sport.
In 2003 you served a 3-month ban. How frustrating a time was that for you? Because initially it was a 2-year ban.
Yeah, it's a crazy decision, and it's something I could talk for hours on. It's one of those things that it's going to happen to somebody else again, because the IOC haven't cleared up their position with it, and happened to Aidan O'Mahony recently as well. Exact same thing, for taking a few puffs your inhaler, you find yourself up against tribunals and all this. It's absolutely crazy, and very frustrating looking back on it. But I suppose I could start looking back now and moaning about this and that. You deal the cards you're dealt, and you just get on with it.
You were forced to retire earlier this summer due to injury. Did that somehow make it a bit easier for you? Because I'm sure it was a very tough thing to do, but because the decision was more or less taken out of your hands. Yeah,
it was. The Munster contract had expired, and I was very flattered that I had a great offer over in Brive in France, and they were very keen to get me down, and I was right up their alley. They were looking for an experienced hooker. And I was right up their profile, and I was really looking forward to going. Was I gonna, was I 100% set on going? I was probably 90%, but this thing happened, and I believe that things happen for a reason. And I'm 33 this week now, so I look back and I say, I've had a good all innings, so let's just get on with it now and drive on to my new career.
As a professional athlete, that's my next question now. As a professional athlete, when you're playing away, is there in the back of your head something that you're planning for what's going to happen when the day comes that you do have to give up sport?
Yeah, it's everybody would always advise you to be planning for the future, but when you're in your mid-20s, you sort of feel invincible, that the end day will never come, and unfortunately it does creep up in the end. I suppose there's I'd be advising younger players to try and be planning a bit for the future, but it's easier said than done, when you're travelling all over the world and you're doing this and that. So, but I think we're a very close bunch, even still, you know, even when guys retire, and when these guys are getting close to the time, you know, I certainly will be open and there to give the guys advice if they need to in whatever they're looking for.
When Sean Payne retired last year, he went into team management. Is that something that you'd like to go into, maybe coaching, or would you prefer to stick to maybe business?
Well, right now I'm you know, I'll be doing a very small bit of consultancy with regard to coaching, etc. I won't be getting involved with any teams at the moment. I just, from a time point of view, I'd love to get involved in maybe 2 or 3 years' time, but I just, right now, I don't have, I wouldn't have the time commitment to be able to give to it. I've set up a company, it's called Front Row Entertainment, and within that there's a sports management side to it, which will keep me involved. Would be, you know, looking after the players, not just contract negotiation, but looking to raise as much money as we can for them through commercial endorsements. And it won't be just rugby players, there'll be Gaelic footballers and hurlers and athletes and so forth. So getting involved in that side of things, it'll keep me involved in the game, and I'll be doing a few bits and pieces with the media as well, so I won't be going anywhere too soon anyway, you know.